Alright, what's happening? Y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and we're basically coming with a Rico report today because we have a lot of different random stuff to talk about. First of all, I have a lot more Washington Commanders 2025 schedule observations. We're going to dive into a lot of those. Some of them are really interesting. I mean, we still got the primetime debate going on. We have people predicting us to win 12 games this season. We have all kinds of stuff. I have like observations as like certain opponents when we're playing them. You'll see. It's some really interesting stuff. And then, of course, also, like you see in the title, we got to talk about how the Commanders almost and should have drafted Stefon Diggs. We're going to get into that. And Caleb Williams tried everything that he could to avoid the Chicago Bears drafting him. We're going to dive into all of that and more. But before we do, of course, I have a trivia question for you today. Quarterback Kirk Cousins was a second-team All-Big Ten choice his final season at what school before Washington drafted him in the 4th round of 2012? Of course, I already know this answer, but hey, man, I'm going to give y'all the answer to that at the end of this video. Let's test y'all elite ball knowledge, man. Y'all remember which college Kirk Cousins went to? But before we get into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all. Stay tuned for all the videos. I want to come out with at least 1 or 2 more videos before tonight ends, so stay tuned. Without further ado, let's go dive into the video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, first of all, y'all know me, man. Anybody that ever donates to this channel, especially while I'm not live streaming, I feel like the least I can do is thank you in my very next video that I do. So shouts out to my boy Zamir. He says, see you at the Benz week 4. Hail to the Commanders. I gotta pull up on you, man. Yes, sir. Y'all already know I'm gonna be there for that Falcons game. I only live like 20 minutes or less from the stadium. Why not pull up? So y'all already know I'm gonna be there serious at that Falcons game, rooting for these Commanders and as much Commanders gear as I can get. Shouts out to my boy Zamir again for the donation, the big time donation directly to the Cash App. Appreciate you. And now let's get to the rest of this video, man. Let's dive into it. Well, first of all, I want to go ahead and make an announcement because the tickets for the Washington Commanders versus Miami Dolphins game in Madrid, Spain, go on sale July 8th. Go ahead and mark your calendars. I saw that information out there. I was like, I mean, technically this is a little off topic from the main things I want to talk about, but I felt like everybody should know that. So that's why I put it at the end of the video, just in case for those of y'all that don't watch videos all the way through, you can get those tickets as of July 8th. They have an entire schedule. Like the Vikings Browns, you get those on May 29th along with the Broncos Jets. Then Rams Jaguars, you get that on May 30th. Then the Falcons Colts, you get on June 5th. Vikings Steelers, you get on June 17th. And then ours go on sale the latest, again, July 8th versus the Miami Dolphins in Madrid, Spain. Now let's dive into my schedule observations. Well, first of all, last time I actually talked about the schedule 2 days ago, on my channel at least, we didn't exactly know the preseason game schedule yet. So now we know August 8th, we play the New England Patriots in New England at 7:30 p.m. We'll more than likely have a joint practice with them. Then we play the Cincinnati Bengals August 18th at 8 p.m. on ESPN. And we'll see, I haven't heard any talks about having a joint practice with the Cincinnati Bengals, but maybe they'll try to put something together there. And then right now it's to be determined of when we'll actually go against the Ravens for our 3rd and final preseason game. But there have been serious talks about us having a joint practice with them as well. So the Patriots with Mike Vrabel and the Baltimore Ravens with John Harbaugh, I think it's quite likely that we have at least 2 training camp joint practices with those teams. Cincinnati Bengals to be determined, we'll see. And then again, preseason wise to be determined as far as when we actually play the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm not even sure, is it that one probably will be in Landover this time. So maybe when we do have the joint practice with them, it'll actually be in Ashburn instead of in Baltimore like it was a couple of years ago. Because I believe that's how it works. When you have more away games during the regular season, they give you more home games in the preseason. So it's an odd number of regular season games, it's an odd number of preseason games. So that's the way that they kind of balance that a little bit. But at the end of the day, we kind of lucked up because one of our away games is Madrid, Spain. We're going to talk about later why I feel like that's technically going to feel like a home game for us. We're going to dive into that later. But moving on, the Commanders are favored in 12 games this season, y'all, per the opening lines released by DK. If it stands, that's the most games Washington has been the favorite in a season since 2000. flat, not 2,000 and something, flat 2,000. And that was 14 games that season that we were favored in. And of course, we did not live up to that hype. Hopefully we do it this time. Shouts out to Grant Paulson because he pointed out the fact that in 2000, Washington was coming off of a season with the #2 offense in the NFL, 10 wins, a division title, and a blown 13-point lead in the second round of the playoffs. They had just spent $100 million in free agency. Then they went 8-8. Norv Turner got fired. I bet he wishes he had Jayden Daniels in 2000. That's a good point, man. We did not live up to the expectations. The next season wasn't horrible, but it got Norv Turner fired, and it definitely did not live up to what people were expecting of us, especially, again, 14 win prediction, and then you go 8-8. Pretty much a big letdown for everybody. But now, if you want to know the exact betting lines for every game, that first Giants game, we're 7.5 overdogs. Against the Packers, we're 1.5 point underdogs. Against the Raiders, we're 7.5 point favorites again. Against the Falcons, even in Atlanta, we're 3.5 point favorites. Against the Chargers, 1.5 point underdogs, but that's in Los Angeles. But I'm gonna explain later why I feel like that's a home game for us too, and I'm pretty sure by the time we get to that point in the season, that betting line is gonna change. Then we're 4.5 point favorites over the Bears. Then we're 2.5 point favorites over the Cowboys in Dallas. Then we're 3.5 point underdogs, of course, at the Chiefs. But hey, that's less than I expected. Hey, I'll take it. Then we're 5.5 point favorites over the Seahawks Sunday Night Football. Then we're 1.5 point favorites over the Detroit Lions. And then we're 4.5 point favorites over the Miami Dolphins when we played them in Madrid, Spain. Of course, betting lines are fluid. These are going to change. It's going to change even before the regular season officially starts, let alone by the time we actually get that far into the season in November and things like that. Then we have a bye week. Then we're 2.5 point favorites over the Broncos, 1.5 point favorites over the Vikings, 4.5 point favorites over the Giants. Then 1.5 point underdogs versus the Eagles at home, then 5.5 point favorites over the Cowboys, and then 4.5 point underdogs against the Eagles in Philadelphia. So they feel like, we have a slightly better chance at home, but we're still underdogs versus the Eagles in both of those games. But I thought it was really interesting the fact that we're road favorites against the Cowboys, the Vikings, and the Falcons. And our biggest underdog line right now is that 4.5 point underdog versus the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia to end the season. That is our biggest underdog point right now. That's insane. 4.5 at Philadelphia, the team that just not only won the Super Bowl, but whooped that team, the Chiefs, in the Super Bowl to where it wasn't even fun to watch anymore after like the first, second quarter. We're only 4.5 point underdogs to them, and nowhere near as big of underdogs against anybody else except for the Chiefs at 3.5. And other than that, everything else is like a 1.5. So we're right there with everybody. They feel like we have a great chance to beat any and everybody. And also, I do want to point out the fact that week 1 spread, that 7.5 point favorites that we are against the Giants right now, is the biggest underdog betting line right now in the entire NFL, only tied with the Titans and Broncos. The Broncos are 7.5 point favorites over the Titans as well. We are the only 2 games with 7.5 point favorites, underdogs, or however you want to word it, in week 1. So people are basically expecting us to whoop up on the Giants as bad as the Broncos are expected to whoop up on the Titans. I thought that was pretty interesting. But you have Giants fans over here putting out graphics like this. They're pointing out how many wins they have all time versus us, and then the person even tweeted, Commanders week 1, and we have a healthy kicker this time, so don't run. And I just can't wait to see what their excuse is going to be this time. They're talking about and bragging about we're going to have a healthy kicker this time. Okay, that's going to be enough to beat us. That's insane that the Giants even feel that way, but that's cool though. I'm not going to put that on the entire fan base, just a few of them. They're talking about we have a healthy kicker this time. What kind of trash talk is this? I can't wait to whoop them boys week 1, man. And the betting favorites show it, man. Also, I do want to point out the fact that the Giants have the toughest schedule of any team in the last 5 seasons. Out of all 32 teams in the last 5 seasons. So we're talking about 160 teams, technically, again, 32 teams per 5 seasons each. The Giants have the toughest schedule by opponent win percentage from the previous season in that whole 5-year span with a .574. You have the Lions behind that with a .571 and the Bears behind that and the Eagles as well. That is absolutely crazy, Giants. I mean, it's just insane because they were the last place team. They're supposed to have a last place schedule, but hey, man, things happen. And it's going to start with that whooping y'all going to get week 1, and it's not going to get much better from there. I'm more confident in which quarterback will be starting the next time we play them all the way in December than I am which head coach they're going to have by the time we get to December. Because I'm assuming Jackson Dart will at some point get thrown into the Wolves. It's just, hey, man, sink or swim, because we don't have much that we're playing for playoff-wise. We might as well go ahead and see what this quarterback, this young rookie quarterback has in him. But I don't think Brian DeBall is making it that far, man, to be completely honest with you. And then also, before we get back to the Commander side of things, I do want to point out the fact, shouts out to Adam Schefter. From weeks 12 through 17, the Cowboys play the Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, Chargers, and the Commanders. All teams that won at least 11 games last season. Now, granted, we're not expecting the Vikings and really not even necessarily the Lions to be as good as they were last year, but I'm expecting the Chargers to be better. We'll see about the Eagles, but they're still going to be really good. I'm expecting the Chiefs to be slightly better, and I'm definitely expecting the Commanders to be better. But the fact that they go on a 6-game streak of going against teams with 11 wins or more the previous season, that's insane. The Cowboys will be the first team in NFL history to ever do that. That is absolutely insane. So shouts out to the Giants for having the toughest schedule of any team in the last 5 years. And then also shouts out to the Cowboys for setting a record for a 6-game streak of going against some of the best teams in NFL history. That's insane. And now getting back to the Commanders. Shouts out to Mike Garafolo for pointing out the fact that looking at the schedule grid, the Commanders lead the league with 4 games against opponents coming off of bye weeks. The good news is, though, is that one of those games is on a Monday, and they're coming off of a bye week when they face the Broncos. So it's not all bad. And then even on top of that, first of all, they're going to need it. All 4 of those teams are going to need it. All 4 of those teams need 2 weeks to prepare for Jayden Daniels. And I'm dead serious about that. And then also, I do want to point out the fact, shouts out to Jack Andrade, I hope that's how you pronounce his last name, pointed out the fact that we were 2-1 versus teams coming off of bye weeks last year, including the Hail Mary win in week 8 versus the Bears, arguably the most impressive win of any team had all season, rolling into Detroit and running the top-seeded Lions out of their own building in the divisional round as well. So we're well accustomed that, hey, you can have those 2 weeks. We still gonna whoop you. So if any team is well prepared and built to be able to deal with something like that, it's the Commanders, just based off of what we did last year. And I think we're going to be definitively better this year than we were last year. I think the 2025 Commanders could easily whoop up on the 2024 Commanders. I'm that excited about this current roster that we have right now, and the fact that we kept the entire coaching staff together for the most part, love it. Also, shouts out to Ethan Cadeau for pointing out the fact that the Commanders have the easiest strength of schedule through the first month of the season. The month of September, we actually have, even though we have overall the 8th toughest schedule beginning to end of the entire schedule, that first month of September, we have the easiest strength of schedule according to everybody's 2024 win percentages. So basically, we have to start at worst 3-1 to be able to have a successful season. If we're trying to go into this 12-win thing that a lot of people are predicting us of having, that I'm honestly predicting as well. I'm working on a schedule prediction right now, so stay tuned. Maybe I'll put that out later tonight or maybe tomorrow, but I'm working on one. I want to go game by game, break down stats, matchups, and all of that, and give my record prediction by the end of it. We're going to literally go game by game. I think we win this and why. All of that type of stuff, so be on the lookout for that. So I'm somewhere in the range of like 12-5. Maybe I'll lean 13-4. Maybe I'll be 11-6. We'll see once I go game by game. But the point is, with the easiest September month out of any team in the NFL, we have to leave that at worst 3-1. And then also shouts out to John Comp, because he did an entire article breaking down the Commanders schedule 2025 takeaways and predictions. He brought up a good point. And it's technically a bold prediction, but he brings up some interesting stats when he makes the prediction. He said Washington will win 3 of its last 4 games to clinch a playoff spot. It will mark the first time since 1991, that 1991-1992 seasons, that the organization has made the playoffs in consecutive years. Insane. I wasn't even alive yet. The Commanders will beat the Giants and Cowboys and split with the Eagles to follow up a 12-win first season under Coach Dan Quinn. These wins will help Washington win double-digit games in back-to-back years for the first time since 1989 to 1991. That is John Comp's prediction. He's another person that's expecting us to win 12 games again. Also, I noticed that, and this is what I foreshadowed a little bit earlier, I alluded to this just a few minutes ago. I noticed that both of those games at the Chargers and at the Dolphins, honestly, will be more like home games for us. Because even though Messi is playing for Miami in America right now, and Spain loves Messi since he played for Barcelona for forever, But you got to remember, the UFC fighter from Spain, Ilia Topuria, I hope that's how you pronounce that name, but he was wearing a Commanders jersey in the trailer for the game. Like, they were already released like a trailer for the upcoming Commanders versus Dolphins in Madrid, and he could potentially sway things back in our favor. They love him there as well. Like, he's from Spain. Like Lionel Messi, even though he played in Spain for forever during his soccer career, he's from Argentina. That UFC fighter is straight up from Spain. So maybe we could win over the fans just from that. And then if you're just excluding any popular athletes that have anything to do with Spain, I think in a neutral ground in Spain, I think we could dominate the fan base and win the stadium over and have a home field advantage like environment just off of the fact that we have so many Commanders fans worldwide. I feel like we have a further reach than Miami Dolphins fans do, especially just right there in the UK. There are so many Commanders fans in the UK. All they got to do is just go down a little bit, just take that quick flight, and they'll be good to go, man. So I think we'll take over that stadium. And then at the Chargers in LA, I mean, that one's an easy one. I mean, first of all, that's where Jayden Daniels is from. We'll get back to that. But literally, first of all, any team can walk into LA and take over their stadium. Any team. They have one of the least dedicated fan bases in the entire NFL, let alone the Commanders with lots of fans that are already out on the West Coast and California and everything like that. And then again, Jayden Daniels' hometown. They still love him out there. He's born and raised IE, Southern California. They love that guy. He'll probably start getting MVP chants during that game from even Chargers fans because they really, really love Jayden Daniels out there, man. And I would too, man. If Jayden Daniels was from Atlanta, I didn't care what team he was on, man. I'd be rooting for him. Also, you can tell from how all of our primetime games are split up to like where each network gets at least like some of the Commanders, like a piece of the Commanders pie this year. You can tell the networks were really fighting over Jayden Daniels primetime games, man. And I'm telling y'all, because of that, the refs are going to give us near Chiefs-like treatment. That's one of my bold predictions. You know how we typically get hated on, and it's like inexplicable like calls where it's like, no way. Like every time there's a 50-50 opportunity, you always lean towards the other team. Like it'll be a situation where Terry McLaurin it looks like he caught the ball in bounds, and then when in doubt, they'll just rule it out of bounds and say it's incomplete. But then when the other team, like the Eagles, do it, same exact situation, they'll call it inbounds. And it's just those 50-50 things. And then there's just the obvious stuff. Like that Terry McLaurin situation. Remember that sequence of Terry McLaurin? The ref told him he was lined up, and then he immediately called the penalty right after the ball was snapped. Then the Curtis Samuel pass interference that wasn't called. Like stuff like that. I'm thinking with the NFL really pushing us to be one of the main brands of the NFL, and based off of primetime games, which we're going to talk about a little later, just based off of primetime and standalone games, it's clear that we're one of the three biggest brands in the entire NFL. You have Pat Mahomes in the AFC, you have Jayden Daniels in the NFC already, and then we face against the Chiefs to see who's actually the real face of the NFL. Now, granted, by that time, even if we beat the Chiefs, Jayden Daniels wouldn't have all of the Super Bowl rings that Pat Mahomes has, but don't take my word for it. The NFL is literally pushing Jayden Daniels, because, I mean, what other reason do we have tied for the most primetime standalone games in the entire NFL? I mean, yeah, the Commanders are a big brand. The DMV market is one of the bigger markets in the entire country. But this is the Jayden Daniels effect, y'all. Purely. So they're doing everything that they can to push him to the forefront. And I'm telling you right now, when you have an exciting quarterback, a great quarterback, a franchise quarterback, a face of the franchise, a face of the NFL quarterback, the refs are finally going to start giving us that Chiefs-like treatment. It may not necessarily be to the level of the Chiefs, and I'm intrigued to see when we play the Chiefs who's going to get more of the calls. I would assume more than likely the Chiefs, but I feel like going against other teams, we're going to be that team that starts to get all of those weird calls. Like, yeah, man, even as the fan of the team that's getting the calls, man, hey, I can admit, boy, we doing some cheating. Like, I can even admit as a Georgia Bulldog fan, I'm completely objective. That's why I'm always so animated when I'm talking about the refs are cheating, because I can admit when I'm on the side where the refs are helping the team, I can admit my Georgia Bulldogs get a lot of calls that we should not be getting, but we're just one of the bigger brands in college football, so they side with us. And when the Commanders are out there and the refs are cheating against us and completely trying to give the other team the win, I'm gonna call it out. I've always been completely objective, and I think this is gonna be the year where things finally switch to our favor. And as long as Jayden Daniels is our elite franchise quarterback, it'll probably stay in our favor for forever. Now, of course, you don't depend on the refs, but man, it helps. I mean, ask them Chiefs and them Eagles fans, man. It helps, boy. They got, them boys was moving different last year with them refs, man. And then moving on, shouts out to Mason Kinahan for pointing out the fact that, I mean, again, we play the Bears prime time again. Monday Night Football this time. Last year, it was Sunday at 4:25 p.m. The year before that, it was Thursday Night Football. And the year before that, it was Thursday Night Football. I don't know what's going on right now. They're not even a divisional opponent, but this is a crazy stretch of consistent primetime games against them. The only team that kind of compares outside of our division are the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, y'all already know, man, me being from Atlanta and all of that type of stuff, I hate the Falcons more than any other team in the entire NFL. Like, I hate them even more than the Cowboys, even more than the Eagles. Even though Eagles fans are making it tough, the Eagles fans are literally trying to move them up to number one. And Bears fans, Lions fans being obnoxious, they're trying it, but I still have my eyes set on the Falcons to go 0-17 every year possible. That's the energy I'm always putting towards them no matter what. But the Falcons are a team that we have consistently played, man. I mean, we just played them in 2024. Again, we played them again in 2025. We beat them in that overtime game. And then the year before that in 2023, we beat them. That was the Jayden Daniels game, where he locked up Bijan Robinson to basically win the game. Then the year before that was Taylor Heineke. We beat them 19-3, I think. Was that the game Marcus Mariota played? And then Kendall Fuller had like the bet, whatever. The game-winning knockdown. And then the year before that, we beat the Falcons 34-30 in 2021. Was that the Taylor Heineke, J.D. McKissick game? Maybe. Could be tripping. I don't remember. My memory's a little foggy right now. I just know the last 4 times we've played the Falcons, we've beat them. So I've had unlimited bragging rights for the past few years. Let's make sure we do that again. But it's weird, back to the main point, that the Bears and the Falcons, we played them every year for the past, now going on to the 5th year now. It's really weird. And I know it's been said a lot of times the past year, and now granted, keep in mind that streak is probably going to continue, because now that the Bears have Caleb Williams, the Falcons have Michael Penix, and the Commanders have Jayden Daniels, it's only right for they might as well go ahead and keep that streak going so they can have these great quarterback matchups. Similar to how the NFL always found a way to schedule Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning no matter what, they're going to probably do the same thing with a few of those quarterbacks, most notably Caleb Williams and Michael Penix, since they both had legendary games. Caleb Williams, we beat them with a Hail Mary. Michael Penix, we beat them in overtime with the elite game-winning drive that Jayden Daniels had in overtime, where it was like, okay, once the Commanders won the coin flip, I can speak for myself, but I feel like most of the Commanders fan base knew the game was over. That was it. The Falcons are not seeing the ball in overtime. So we've already had 2 classics against those quarterbacks. They're probably going to keep that run going, just to warn you. And again, I know it's been said lots of times the past few years, but the streak continues. Nobody has won the NFC East division in back-to-back years since 2004. Let's keep that going by winning the division this season, and then we stop that streak in 2026 by winning it again back-to-back in 2026. Let's do it, man. Again, just to remind you, nobody has won the NFC East division since 2004. So let's go. Let's go ahead and keep that streak going for 2025, man. Eagles ain't winning it this year, man. And now let's talk prime time games. As you can see on the screen right now, most prime time games. We're just talking purely prime time. We're not talking about total standalone, which we're going to talk about soon, where we're tied with the most in the NFL. But prime time wise, you have technically the Kansas City Chiefs with 7, and then I don't know why they put us at the bottom, because it should be us, then the Cowboys, then the Eagles, especially when you're considering the rank of standalone primetime games total. We're right up there. We're tied with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cowboys again. We're going to talk about that soon. I don't know why they put us at the bottom. It must be in alphabetical order or something like that. I don't know. That's the only other reason. Either way, it doesn't matter. But of course, a lot of Eagles fans saw that and ran with it. We'll get there soon, though, because Rio Robinson brings up a good point. Shouts out my dog over there. He said, man, give me the whole NFC beast for a regular season Hard Knocks. We run the 2025 NFL schedule, man. You have the Kansas City Chiefs at number 1, prime time specifically, and then it's 3 NFC East teams that round out the top 4. That is crazy. He said we run the schedule. Y'all know what to do, HBO. NFC East Hard Knocks, let's do it. I mean, it's money to be made, NFL, if y'all want to do it, man. And again, if you're just looking at that graphic, I mean, that just clearly shows the NFC East is back. We used to be the most notable, the most watched, the most cared about division in the entire NFL for so many years, double-digit years straight. Then we had a falling off. Now we're back. And then now to my point, number of games and standalone or primetime slots in ranking in the NFL. You have the Kansas City Chiefs, Commanders, and Cowboys tied for first place with 8. Even though that's my first time seeing the Cowboys with 8. I saw them 7 somewhere else, but I'm just going to go with what NFL Nerd is saying. You have the Chiefs, Commanders, Cowboys tied for first place with 8. Then next in line with 7, you have the Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings, and the Philadelphia Eagles. And then after that, you have Everybody else, and then sadly you have the Saints and the Titans with 0. Even though they just took a quarterback with the #1 overall pick at Cam Ward, the Titans have 0. Even the Carolina Panthers and the Cleveland Browns at least got 1. The Cardinals, Colts, and Jaguars got 2. The Colts have Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson having a quarterback competition right now. The Giants have 3. Jets have 3. Raiders have 3. That's crazy. But I mean, I guess that just goes to show how much faith people have in Cam Ward. He is the #1 overall pick quarterback, but if he would have been in that same draft last year with Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and those guys, even JJ McCarthy, he's at best 5th. So I can see why they was just like, hey, he's a #1 overall pick technically, but that's just because of the available quarterbacks. Last year, he would not have been the #1 overall pick at all. Probably would have maybe even made it to the late 1st, early 2nd. But again, going back to the 8 standalone games, just to provide proof, you have week 2 at Green Bay. That's Thursday night. Week 6 versus Chicago, Monday Night Football. Week 8 at Kansas City, Monday Night Football. Week 9 versus Seattle, Sunday Night Football. And nobody's pulling up for the Seattle for that one. We got that prime time because of Jayden Daniels, not because of Seattle at all. Week 11 at Miami and Madrid. Eagles fans are trying to be petty and say that doesn't count as prime time, but it's Europe. Nobody else is playing. Spain, first ever NFL game in Spain. Stop trying that, bro. Then week 13 versus the Denver Broncos, Saturday Night Football. Hey, Jayden Daniels versus Bo Nix should be fun. Week 16 versus Philly. Thank you, Philadelphia, for us being the reason that you got a Saturday game during prime time. So we gave y'all one of y'all prime time games. And then you have week 17 versus Dallas, which is Christmas. Eagles fans are trying to be petty and say that's not a prime time game technically as well. Even though we're the first game on Christmas, everybody's going to be watching at 1 p.m. So that counts as at least a standalone game, and that's all that matters. People want to be petty about the definition of prime time. Just say standalone. We're the team that everybody's turning on their TV to watch 8 times this year, only tied with the Chiefs and the Cowboys. And to laugh at the Eagles even further, even the Eagles versus Chiefs is not a primetime game. That was just the most recent Super Bowl matchup, and the Chiefs are also tied for the most primetime standalone games, and y'all still didn't even get a primetime game against them. They're playing at 425. Ha ha, Eagles fans. That's that Jayden Daniels effect for real, man. The Chiefs have Pat Mahomes in the most Super Bowls won by any team since he started for the Chiefs. The Cowboys, for whatever reason, are still the biggest brand in the NFL right now. I mean, I blame y'all Cowboys fans, honestly, that ain't never been to Texas, to the state of Texas ever for that one. I blame y'all. And then you have us. We just have Jayden Daniels. I mean, the Chiefs have the face of the NFL and the success. The Cowboys have elite marketing. The Commanders literally have Jayden Daniels. And it's simple. The Eagles don't have Jayden Daniels. Very simple math, y'all. And it sucks because I really rock with Jalen Hurts on and off the field, unlike Saquon Barkley, that weirdo. But it's just Philly fans that make it impossible to root for Jalen Hurts, man. So I don't even hate Hurts. He's good. He's just not Jayden Daniels. And if you don't want to take my word for it, Eagles fans, the NFL just told y'all. Even CJ Stroud didn't have this much of a push by the NFL going into his second year to be one of the faces of the NFL. On every billboard, on every advertisement, on every marketing that the NFL has, Jayden Daniels. And again, tied for the most primetime standalone games in the NFL, only with the Chiefs and the Cowboys. And I've already explained why those two got it. Why do we have it? Purely Jayden Daniels. Also, shouts out to Benjamin Albright, because I mean, he was going to war versus Lord Brunson and a lot of Eagles fans yesterday, and he walked out definitely a winner. And he finished his tweet, because I already told y'all with my last video 2 days ago why he was going back and forth about the whole primetime standalone game thing, and Eagles fans were accusing him of being a Commanders fan. He was like, I'm not at all. I have no reason to. I'm just on the side of logic. I'm not on the Commanders side. I'm on the side of what actually makes sense. I'm on the side that's anti-stupidity, basically. And so he finished up by saying a fan base of a team that just won a Super Bowl 2 months ago, crying about their division opponent getting primetime games is the lamest thing I've seen on this app in a while. You just won a Super Bowl, act like it. I completely agree. And then shouts out to Resh Manuel. He said it's crazy. Eagles just won a Super Bowl by stopping the first potential three-peat in Super Bowl history. Yet they can't stop talking about another team, not even the team that they just played against in the Super Bowl. I get it's a divisional rival, but it's like spending your honeymoon with your wife by trash talking the ex that you broke up with. I completely agree. I don't know what's wrong with them. Definitely some mental instability over there in Eagles Nation. I'm not going to say people from Philly because they got fans everywhere, man. And boy, I don't know what they got going on. But forget the Eagles and their fans for the rest of this video, because paying attention to other fan bases and worrying about what other teams are doing is very Eagles brand. That's what Eagles fans do. You know what I'm saying? We leave that pettiness to them. But for Commanders, we are big brand now. Elite franchise quarterback. Who this? Look at this, man. These are all of the teams that are at least playing one America's Game of the Week this season. You only have 11 teams on the screen, and we are one of them. And again, I want to remind y'all that it is the Commanders, the Chiefs, and the Cowboys that the NFL is basically saying are the three biggest brands in all of football right now, off of the fact that we are tied for the most standalone games in the entire NFL. But again, just rejoice with the fact that the Commanders are one of these brands right here. Shouts out to the Commanders for being a part of this. We are one of the faces of the NFL. And then before we move on from this whole schedule stuff, we start talking about Stefon Diggs, and then we talk about this whole Bears situation with Caleb Williams. Commanders head coach Dan Quinn broke down the 5 games that stood out to him the most for this upcoming season. He said, Adam and I were pumped to get this thing rocking again. As a coach, you look for the home opener. What's that look like? Where it's going? When I looked at ours specifically, there were a couple that came to mind. And then also 9/11 at Green Bay for us living in DC. 9/11, what a cool honor. It hits a little different being in DC. And then you go to Spain, and then you have 3 night games in DC as well. And he talked about how, you know, we only had one of those last year, and it was week 17, and it was absolutely lit. So for us to get some more night games at home, that's really cool. Remember, that was that Falcons game in overtime. That was a different atmosphere from everybody that I've heard talk about going to that game. That was the best burgundy and gold atmosphere at a home game we've had in double-digit years, easily. And so basically, Dan Quinn is looking forward to the fact that we're going to have 3 of those instead of just the one that we had last year on top of the home opener. He's really excited about that. And then also playing the Green Bay Packers for 9/11 is really significant. That's very symbolic. I really rock with that. Now, sadly, it is in Green Bay. It's not in Landover, Maryland. So it's not near the nation's capital, but that's still really cool. And then also, shouts out to Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated, because he's a little fearful for what the NFL did to the Commanders with our scheduling. I don't hate what they did. I feel like they did us pretty good as far as like the opponents we have to play, the distance we have to travel going to Madrid, all of these primetime games. I feel like with all of that taken into account, they did us pretty well. I'm not saying they did us any favors by the schedule makers, but you know, they didn't hate on us that bad. But Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated talked about how Washington's schedule structure, he said that we basically got screwed in that. And also he said that we're not alone. A lot of analysts feel like that the price for success in the modern NFL right now is pretty steep. He said, quote, perhaps this is the theme of the evening. It almost certainly underlines the downside of becoming suddenly great in the NFL. After a peaceful ramping up period, the Commanders are poised to be the NFL's marketable team in the middle section of the schedule, unquote. And he basically just expounded upon all of the hardships that come along with that, like practicing. When are you going to be able to practice, travel, all of that type of stuff? But I'm not worried about that, man. I mean, like I said at the end of my last video, anybody can get it. You know what I'm saying? I don't look at our schedule and say that anybody is a definitive loss at all. I'm not saying we're going 17-0, but I'm not worried about anybody, let alone scared. So, hey, man, I'm excited. I don't care what the order is. I don't care where it's at. Away game, home game, Spain, whatever, man. I'm ready to win every game, man. I have confidence going into every single game that we play. We got JD5, man, and this elite coaching staff, and this way better roster. Again, like I already said earlier, this 2025 Commanders team would whoop the 2024 Commanders team based off of the moves we made this offseason. I'm telling you right now, watch. And then also now moving on to where a lot of people may be their favorite part of the video that they were looking forward to, Scott McCloughan. Of course, he served as Washington's general manager during the 2015 and 2016 seasons. Was he the last official, like, real general manager we had until just AP became our general manager? That's kind of crazy. But McCloughan was fired in March 2017 when rumors circulated about his personal problems. I think it was like some alcohol stuff, whatever. But while McCloughan didn't do a great job as a general manager for the then Redskins, he didn't deserve the treatment he received. I agree. Such was life under Dan Snyder and former team president Bruce Allen. You can't forget, Bruce Allen was there making things worse as well. Dan Snyder was the worst of it, but Bruce Allen wasn't good either. On Thursday, yesterday, McCloughan joined Kevin Sheehan's radio show on the Team 980 in Washington, D.C. and told an interesting story. Of course, Kevin Sheehan, a University of Maryland graduate and a huge fan, told McCloughan how much he wanted Washington to draft former Terp star Stefon Diggs in the 2015 draft. McCloughan didn't take Diggs and instead chose Jamison Crowder. They were both available at the time. The Minnesota Vikings chose Diggs in the 5th round, and he would end up becoming a superstar. The saddest part is that he was a local product. He went to Maryland and everything, and the Commanders, well, the Redskins at that time, just completely skipped over him in the draft. And he said, quote, you know, that 2015 draft, just because I'm a Maryland guy, and this is coming from Sheehan, I was screaming take Diggs. And I know he had been hurt and there was some injuries, and with Stefon, there was some off the field issues and character wise and the whole thing, but unquote. And so then here comes Scott McCloughan. He then told Sheehan that he had a story that he could tell about that situation, but just not on the radio. But then afterwards, just a little while later, McCloughan was like, nah, forget it. I'm going to tell it. I'm not about to sit here and hold this in. And so then he revealed that Dan Snyder would not let him draft Stefon Diggs in the 2015 draft. Scott McCloughan revealed that he wanted to draft Stefon Diggs in the 4th round, but he was overruled by former owner Dan Snyder. And it wasn't even just him. Jay Gruden also apparently wanted 0 parts of Stefon Diggs as well. And Diggs was the highest rated player on McCloughan's board when they drafted Jamison Crowder in the 4th round. So he clearly wanted Stefon Diggs. Jay Gruden and especially Dan Snyder completely overruled that. Remember, back in the RIP to him, but the Dwayne Haskins draft, nobody in that building wanted to draft Dwayne Haskins. And then Dan Snyder overruled that as well. So it's just ridiculous what we used to have to deal with. Other fan bases have no idea that an owner can even negatively affect a team that bad, even just on the field. Shouts out to George Carmi. He said, I was always baffled why they took Jamison Crowder over Stefon Diggs. I was too. Crowder had a solid career, but Diggs was a local product, went to good counsel UMD, and was a clear prospect on the rise. I mean, I just felt like most people, if not everybody, felt like Stefon Diggs over Jamison Crowder, even back then coming out of college, let alone what happened once the NFL and everything in their careers. It's not even hindsight 2020. Coming out of college, most people had Stefon Diggs over Jamison Crowder. And shouts out to Matt Seabrook because he brings up a good point, man. Snyder was top tier menace, man. He said, F that guy. And other fan bases wonder why we celebrate so hard for the smallest wins, because that's the BS we had to deal with. No other fan base knows what that's like. I mean, you had the Jets that's out here turning down free agency signings because of Madden ratings, but nobody was worse than Dan Snyder. Panthers owner was bad for a little while. Colts owner had his moments as well too. Jerry Jones is pretty. Now the part with Jerry Jones is scary is it seems like he's never going away. Even though that's how we felt about Dan Snyder at one point, but Jerry Jones just isn't bad enough off the field wise to where he's probably gonna. And then at the same time, after he's done, it probably just goes to his son. So the Cowboys fans will never outlive at least the Joneses. So I can see why that's scary. But Dan Snyder during his reign of tyranny was the worst of all time, man. Other fan bases have no idea. And so we probably should cut Scott McCloughan some slack, but not too much though, because he's still the guy that drafted Josh Doxson in the 1st round and Sewell Cravens in the 2nd round. And I'm not sure if that was a Dan Snyder intervention right there. That probably was just purely Scott McCloughan misses right there, even though that's still nowhere near as bad as Rivera's run of drafting for 4 years here, but it's still really bad. But luckily for us, now this regime drafted Zuerlein in the 4th round, and I firmly believe he'll be an even quicker, faster, and just straight up overall, all-around better version of Jamison Crowder. So all is right. Now moving on from the old Commanders drama to the current Bears drama, the last topic of the day. Apparently, Caleb Williams sought ways around not going to the Chicago Bears. Wow, that was so random. That went super viral yesterday. I just ended up being super busy, so I wasn't able to get a video done. But I was like, whoa, is that clickbait or is that real? And then it ended up actually being real, which was insane. Apparently, quarterback Caleb Williams was so concerned about being picked by the Chicago Bears in that 2024 NFL draft that he and his family weighed circumventing the entire NFL draft, literally consulting with lawyers to figure out a way around the league's collective bargaining agreement while considering signing with the UFL. That is absolutely insane. The quote from Caleb Williams' dad, Carl Williams, "Chicago is the place where quarterbacks go to die," unquote. And Caleb Williams wondered aloud to confidence as well. He said, quote, "Do I want to go there? I don't think I can do it with former Bears offensive coordinator Shane Waldron." Like he was looking at Shane Waldron like, I don't like this. And after an up and down final season at USC, Caleb Williams was unsure of what he wanted to do as he prepared for the 2024 draft. At the Combine last year, he met with Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell. The two hit it off, and Caleb Williams began to dream of what it would have been like to play for Minnesota. He told his dad, quote, "I need to go to the Vikings," unquote. That is crazy. His father replied, "Let's do it." But both Caleb and Carl knew that a trade to a divisional rival was extremely unlikely. Bears general manager Ryan Poles stood firm, telling Williams, quote, "We're drafting you no matter what," unquote. This is crazy. And that left one option: to publicly attack the Bears in the city of Chicago, hoping that it would make the situation untenable, similar to what Jack and John Elway had done with the Baltimore Colts in 1983. Don't forget, people are always hyping up how much people are concerned, like Shadir Sanders and things like that coming out of the draft. Remember the Mannings pulled a fast one to make sure that the Chargers didn't draft him, I believe it was, so that he could end up going to the Giants. He was like, "Don't draft me because I'm not going to play for y'all. Don't even do it." So that was crazy. And it's just insane, too, because it was a report that none of the Bears coaches last season told Caleb Williams to watch any film and gave him zero help. Caleb Williams' exact quote, "No one tells me what to watch. I just turned it on," unquote. That is crazy. What were they doing over there? So shouts out to Brett Coleman. I agree. He said the real story to me is that Caleb Williams ended up being right. He and his dad were worried about going to the Bears because they thought Eberflus and Waldron were bad for his development, and they were immediately proven correct. I mean, both of those guys fired, gone, nothing to deal with them. And then shouts out to Rio Robinson, too, because he brings up a good point. He says zero chance Caleb signs an extension there. I wouldn't go as far to say zero, but it's not looking very likely. Now, maybe Ben Johnson being there can still fix everything. I mean, the main reason that he wanted to avoid Chicago, all of those reasons are already gone. Waldron, Eberflus, all of those guys. But other than, I mean, every reason is gone other than the fact that Chicago is apparently the place where quarterbacks go to die. That whole stigma. Just like his dad even said. I guess we'll see. Them boys over there on a timer, though, man. They got like 4 years to make them want to stay. And hey, couldn't be my team, man. I don't know what that's like, man. We got Jayden Daniels. And then lastly, before we get up out of here, I had to take the time to thank this man. I mean, this guy truly needs to be honored. I need the Washington Commanders official media team to come out with a graphic and everything, man, because we owe this man. If you see this guy, make sure you give him a hug. Because apparently the Jets are releasing kicker Greg Zuerlein after going 35 of 38 on field goals in 2023. He did struggle mightily last season, only converting 9 of his 15 field goals. But hey, man, in 2023, when he needed to make that one against us to force us to lose that game that we so desperately wanted to win. Shouts out to Jamison Crowder for his fumble on the punt, and shouts out to Greg Zuerlein for making that game winner, because we do not have Jayden Daniels if Greg Zuerlein does not make that kick. So everybody clap it up and applaud Greg Zuerlein. Honestly, we may need to retire his jersey number for the Commanders. I mean, it's bad, man. He needs to go into the Ring of Fame, something. We need to honor this man at some point this upcoming season, man. We need to invite him to the game. He needs to be with the crowd and everything. Somebody needs to pay for his tickets, his travel, and he needs to be in a Commanders jersey, taking in the Jayden Daniels effect, because it's because of him that we even have him. So shouts out to Greg Zuerlein, man. I really appreciate you, dog. If nobody else does, I do. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please stick on that like button, stick on the subscription button, stick on the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. And as promised, I have the trivia answer for you. Oh yeah, I remember this. Michigan State was the answer. That's the college that Kirk Cousins went to. But yeah, man, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in this video. All of my schedule observations and everything like that took up like the first half of the video. Then how you feel about the whole Scott McCloughan, Stefon Diggs, Jamison Crowder thing, Dan Snyder meddling and all of that type of stuff. How do you feel about Caleb Williams with the Bears? Do you think Ben Johnson and those guys can come in, rectify that situation, all of that type of stuff? So stay tuned. Let me know how you feel about everything, man. The Eagles fans, the primetime games, us potentially getting some referee bias on our side now that we're one of the faces of the NFL. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video and more. Really appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.